Well, hi. I want to share with you guys a vision I had several days ago during worship time, and it's taken me some time to gather my thoughts and look up some scriptures and look up some word definitions and some different things because it was a very involved vision, and I wanted to be sure that the collection of what I already had read and knew of the Lord combined with the new refreshing my memory of some scriptures and what I saw and looking up some different things all correlated well. And then I wanted to be able to release it to you, um, and for you to participate in some of the things that the Lord had showed me, and to be encouraged and also to be just in wonder of who He is. So I'm going to go ahead and start telling you the vision, and then I'm also going to give you some scriptures and some references and some ideas to ponder as well. And then if anybody has any comments to make afterwards, then please do. This is just one glimpse into the things that the Lord has. I by no means have a full explanation for everything, but I'm very excited to share what I have with you. Okay, so the vision was whilst I was worshiping, and I was playing some music, and then I just felt the call to be still, and other people were playing music around me, and I just sat still, and I waited on what God wanted to share with me. And the first thing He showed me was this huge line of figures that were a bright translucent white color. And the first figure that sort of came into focus, and there was clouds, and it was up in the heavenlies, um, was a very magnificent and majestic deer with a huge rack of antlers up on its head. And then I started to see all these other magnificent creatures like horses and um, bigger creatures with antlers on their head. So there was a lion, there was horses, there were I can't remember all of the kinds of creatures there were, but there were many creatures that were of a bigger sort of mammal type, with antlers on their head. And then winged people joined the creatures, and they all had antlers on their head. And I heard the Lord say, um, now I know in the Bible it says the horn of salvation is my strength. I think it's quoted in Luke 1:69. And that was what came through. Even though these technically were antlers, I heard the horn of the Lord, and it was talking about strength and power. And I looked up some stuff about antlers and dreams and things, and it often is related to a sense of power and strength. And I actually looked up the word for the horn of salvation, and it means strength, and it also means like a container, or it could also mean a ray of light. So that's in the Hebrew, and but it definitely related to strength and power and spiritual authority. So that was the first part of the vision I saw, was this huge array of creatures with antlers, and then people with wings joined. They were people, not angels. They were people that joined with, and they had their antler crowns on, and they were with this huge host, and they were in the heavenlies with clouds, and it was very like bright white translucent light shining through them. Then the next part of the vision was I turned to look downward, and I came down to the level of the ground, and it was all of these carcasses of animals with still some like bloody meat still on them, and then right in the mix of that were crowns, and these were more sort of gold coronet kind of crowns, and they were just in with all of the dirt of the animal carcasses. And I heard the Lord talk about this is like the sacrifices and the works of man and the pride of man, and things that that we think are going to accomplish things for us, or with us, or we label ourselves, or we put honor in, and they're just they're not profitable compared to the power and the strength of the creatures I'd just seen. These crowns were in with the carcasses of sacrifices that were not producing anything, not powerful at all. And it was really in relation to maybe even well-meaning pride, or well-meaning acts of service, or well-meaning sacrifice. It just did not have the same power. And then I looked up above this scene and I saw this curtain, and the curtain was like one of those old-fashioned beaded curtains, and it was made up of, similar to like the matrix, the binary code, or however it is for the composition of the of all of things, like binary code or something like that. Anyway, there was a almost like a binary code, and I couldn't be certain, it could have been Hebrew letters. I can't for sure remember that part, but I think anyhow it was blood. It was the blood of the Lamb. It was the blood of Jesus. It was a curtain of blood. It was the veil, however you want to say it. And one of the verses that was really, I went and checked on, and it was really powerful for me at this point, was Hebrews 10:19. It says, "Therefore, brothers, having boldness to enter the holiest by the blood of Jesus, by a new and living way, which he has consecrated for us through the veil that is his flesh, and having a high priest over the house of God, let us draw near with a true heart, in full assurance of faith, having our hearts sprinkled from evil, and our evil conscience, and our bodies washed with pure water." And of course in Hebrews there's talk about sacrifice of the Old Testament, and then now Jesus being the ultimate sacrifice, and his blood cleansing us from all unrighteousness and providing us this new and living way to righteousness. It's his righteousness, and we have a new living way to the Father, and a new life, and a new covenant with and so that curtain was just, I went through it, and then I came into this room, which was the holiest of holies, is what it felt like, just as that verse was saying. And all around was this material like a purple velvet, and then there was some sort of areas that were a blue velvet, and it reminded me of just royalty and majesty and honor and power. And I had been reading Revelation 4 and 5 that week, and so that's what it drew my mind to, was to the throne room, where they're just saying, you are worthy to receive all glory and honor and praise, and you're holy and you're worthy. And so I turned to look, and I was expecting to see the throne, but instead of seeing a throne, I actually saw a manger. I saw the manger, and I saw a figure of a baby, and of course I was like, oh, it's Jesus. And then it turned my mind to in Philippians, where it says he humbled himself, and he came as a man, and then he died as death, or as a criminal, and then the Lord exalted him. So some of those verses are like in Philippians and Ephesians and Colossians, and so I saw the figure of the baby, and I was like, oh. And then it also tied me into in Revelation 5, where it talks